I always competed with her for everything, whether it was for grades, the attention of our parents, or even the smallest accomplishments. It felt like a constant battle for validation, and I was always on the losing side because my parents always preferred her. As a result, I felt really inferior and we never fully understood each other. Our relationship seemed more like a perpetual competition, with her always coming out victorious. On one occasion, she wanted to be friends with a group of girls, but because she was a nerd, she was afraid to approach them. One of the girls and I had art classes together, so I introduced myself to the rest of the group and we all used to hang out together. Vicky was so jealous of this that she made my parents talk to me to include her. Also, whenever I was with them, I tried to avoid conflict, but my mother called me selfish, while my father said she was my sister and I should take care of her. I reluctantly accepted and introduced Vicky to the rest of the girls. Now, Vicky doesn't have many friends, so she may seem too enthusiastic. I was constantly trying to impress the girls in our group, often becoming annoyed. Despite her efforts, she found it difficult to find her place among them, and the tension between Vicky and the other girls was always palpable. For example, one of the girls was interested in a boy, so Vicky took it upon herself to approach the boy and let him know that she liked the girl. He laughed because he was not interested and went and told everyone, which embarrassed the girl. After this, the girls told me clearly that they didn't want her to join our meetings, so I accepted. However, Vicky didn't accept it. She threw a tantrum when she found out that the girls wanted nothing to do with her and insisted to our parents that I shouldn't spend time with these bad girls either, since I was her sister and should defend her. I refused and told her it was her fault that I didn't. They wanted to be friends with her, but my parents, as always, supported her. They gave me a talk about how Vicky had no bad intentions and that I should try to convince the girls to forgive Vicky, but that if they didn't, then I should stay away from them too. I refused and stood firm. I liked hanging out with them and, unlike Vicky, I wasn't going to sacrifice my friendships in any way. I told my parents that I had had enough and that it wasn't my responsibility to find friends for Vicky, and what my parents did was follow us. I told my parents that I had had enough and that it wasn't my responsibility to find friends for Vicky. My parents got mad and turned their backs on me for weeks, but I'm glad I stood my ground. This group of girls has remained my friends to this day and they are basically like my sisters. I have cried with them, laughed with them, and shared some of the most significant moments of my life. That wasn't the only reason Vicky came to hate me. There was also another incident with a boy she was in love with, a boy I had no idea about and who sat in some classes with me because we were friends. He tried to invite me to the prom, but I politely declined because I was already going with someone I liked. Later, when Vicky found out, she made a big fuss about it by telling my parents how she always told me the things she wanted and that she was in love with the boy, knowing what she had been feeling for months. She used a lot of unpleasant words that no one should tell their own sister and told my parents how she wished I wasn't her sister. My mother stood by her, telling me that what she had done was wrong and that as a sister, I should respect the girls' code. I tried to tell them that I wasn't even interested in the boy and that I had turned down his invitation, so she was free to ask him if she wanted to. But Vicky refused to let it pass. Looking back, I think she knew the guy would have rejected her anyway, so she just wanted to get even with me because she had invited me instead of her. Once, my dad took me out for ice cream, telling me he wanted to spend time with me as a father and daughter. This had never happened before, so I was really happy. However, he started asking me a lot of questions as if my boyfriend and I were being careful, if my boyfriend came from a good family, or if we used drugs. I was shocked by his line of questions and asked him what he meant by all that. That's when my dad revealed that Vicky had been making up stories, telling my parents for months that I was on drugs and drinking alcohol with my boyfriend. This was a complete lie, and I showed my dad my phone to verify that Vicky was lying. Later, when my dad confronted her about all the lies, she tried to justify that no one our age just spends time with a guy and that I was hiding everyone's stuff. I was so angry that I yelled at her for trying to create an unnecessary problem and told her it wasn't my fault she didn't have anyone to date, but I needed to move on with my life. Vicky didn't accept it, and if you are liking it, follow us for part 2.